The great crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber filled with worried voices as hundreds of alien representatives took their seats. Ambassador Krel'Thas from the Vrelian world walked slowly to the center platform, his 4 arms carrying data tablets that seemed to weigh him down with their terrible contents. The tall, blue-skinned diplomat looked around the massive hall. Representatives from 47 different species watched him with growing concern. Some had tentacles that moved nervously. Others had feathers that changed colors with their emotions. The insect-like delegates clicked their mandibles in worry. "Friends of the Council," Krel'Thas began, his voice carrying clearly through the translation devices everyone wore. "I bring you news that will shock you all. We have discovered something terrible about the humans." A wave of whispers swept through the chamber. Humans were still new to the galactic community. They had only joined the Council 5 years ago, and many species were still learning about these strange creatures from the 3rd planet of a small yellow star. Council leader Vashti raised one of her 8 tentacles for silence. Her large, dark eyes focused on the Vrelian ambassador. "Please continue, Krel'Thas. What have you discovered?" The holographic display above the platform flickered to life. Images of human farming worlds appeared in the air, vast fields of crops stretching to the horizon, neat rows of plants growing under alien suns, and human settlements that looked peaceful and productive. "At first we thought these were normal farming colonies," Krel'Thas explained. "The humans said they were growing food for their expanding population. We saw nothing wrong with this. Many species farmed to feed themselves." More images appeared. These showed humans working in the fields, men, women, and even children walking between the crop rows. They carried various tools and containers. Everything looked normal and harmless. "But then we found these documents," Krel'Thas said, his voice growing darker. The display changed to show human record keeping. Page after page of data appeared, filled with numbers and species names. The alien representatives leaned forward, trying to read the human writing through their translation devices. "These are official reports from human agricultural worlds," the ambassador continued. "And they contain the most horrifying information we have ever seen." He pointed to specific entries on the documents. "Look at these numbers. Species A47, eliminated. Population Group Delta, eradicated. Breeding Colony 7, destroyed." Page after page of systematic extinction. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Several of the more sensitive species began making distressed sounds. The Crystal Collective representatives dimmed their natural light in sorrow. "But it gets worse," Krel'Thas said. "They have casual names for this mass murder. They call it pest control. They have entire industries dedicated to making it more efficient. They create special chemicals designed to kill entire species at once." The images changed again, showing human factories producing various sprays and powders. The labels on the containers were translated for the Council: Total Kill Formula, Species Eliminator, Maximum Extinction Concentrate. Admiral Thane of the military coalition stood up, his red skin flushing darker with anger. "How many species have they destroyed? On their agricultural worlds alone, we estimate hundreds of different life forms have been completely eliminated," Krel'Thas replied. "But that number may be much higher. They keep very detailed records of their extermination activities." The display showed more human documents, charts tracking kill rates, maps showing elimination zones, and schedules planning eradication campaigns. The systematic nature of it all made the assembled aliens feel sick. "They involve their children in these activities," the ambassador continued, showing images of human families working together in the fields. "Young humans are taught from an early age to participate in species elimination. They treat it as a normal part of life." Several council members stood up in outrage. The Peaceful Union representative began singing their species' song of mourning. The Aquatic Dominion delegates made clicking sounds of disgust. "They have technology we cannot understand," Krel'Thas went on. "Methods of killing that work on multiple species at once. They can eliminate flying creatures, ground-dwelling organisms, and plant-eating life forms all with the same weapons." The evidence continued. Human communications showed them discussing their pest control activities with the same casual tone they might use to talk about the weather. They shared techniques for more effective killing. They celebrated successful elimination campaigns. "Most disturbing of all," the Vrelian ambassador said, "they seem proud of their efficiency. They compete with each other to see who can achieve the highest extinction rates. They give awards to the most successful killers." Council leader Vashti's tentacles writhed in distress. "Has any species in galactic history ever been so systematic about genocide? Never," Admiral Thane replied grimly. Even the most aggressive species we have encountered show some restraint. But humans appear to view mass extinction as routine maintenance. The chamber erupted in angry discussions. Representatives demanded immediate action. Some called for humans to be expelled from the council. Others suggested military intervention to stop the killing. We must investigate this immediately, Vashti declared, her voice cutting through the noise. I am authorizing a joint species investigation team. We need to understand exactly what humans are doing and how to stop them. What if they turn their extinction methods on sentient species? Worried Dr. Zixera from the Science Division. If they can so casually eliminate hundreds of life forms, what would stop them from targeting us? The thought sent a chill through the chamber. Every representative imagined their own species facing human pest control methods. We will send our best investigators, Vashti announced. They will observe human activities directly and gather evidence of these crimes. Then we will decide humanity's fate. As the session ended, one thought dominated every mind in the chamber. Humanity might be the most dangerous species the galaxy had ever encountered. 3 weeks after the shocking council meeting, a small transport ship quietly landed on the human world called New Yorkshire. The ship's camouflage systems made it invisible to human detection equipment. Inside, 5 of the galaxy's best investigators prepared for what they expected to be the most disturbing mission of their careers. Commander Zixera checked her equipment one final time. The insect-like Kethani had compound eyes that could see in multiple spectrums, making her perfect for surveillance work. Her partner, Captain Morgul, floated in his portable water tank. The aquatic being's sonar abilities could detect movement from great distances. Remember, Zixera told her team, we are here to document human genocide methods. Stay hidden and record everything. We need proof of their crimes. Lieutenant Pixel, whose crystalline body could process data at incredible speeds, nodded nervously. The report said they involved children in mass killing. I still cannot believe any species would do such a thing. Dr. Veltar, the team's psychological expert, adjusted her breathing apparatus. We must observe their behavior patterns. How do they justify such systematic murder to themselves? The team spread out across the human farming settlement, using their advanced hiding technology to remain unseen. What they found in the first few hours confused them greatly. The humans seemed completely normal. Families worked together in large fields full of green plants. Children played and laughed. Adults talked casually about weather and crop growth. Nothing looked like a genocide operation. Where are the killing facilities? Pixel whispered into his communicator. I see only farming equipment. Wait, Zixera replied from her position near a human dwelling. A family is coming out with equipment. They might be starting an extermination event. The investigators watched as Thomas and Mary Bennett walked into their crop field with their 2 children, 8-year-old James and 6-year-old Emma. Each family member carried different tools, spray bottles, small machines and collection containers. Look how casually they approach mass murder, Dr. Veltar observed with horror. The children seem excited about it. Young Emma skipped between the crop rows, carrying a device that made soft buzzing sounds. Her brother James followed behind with a spray bottle, systematically covering plant after plant with chemical mist. Daddy, I got 5 more. Emma called out happily, showing her father the small machine. Good work, sweetheart, Thomas replied with a smile. Keep checking under the leaves. That's where they like to hide. The alien investigators recorded every word, every action. To them, it sounded like a family celebrating successful killing. They are teaching their offspring to enjoy murder, Morgul bubbled quietly from his tank. What kind of society creates such monsters? Captain Morgul followed another human family to a different field. Here, an older man named Robert worked with his teenage son David. They moved methodically through rows of crops, the father pointing out specific locations while the son operated a larger spraying device. Remember, David, you want complete coverage, Robert explained patiently. If you miss any spots, they will come back twice as strong. I understand, Dad, David replied, adjusting his equipment settings. Maximum elimination, right? Exactly. No survivors means no future problems. The alien captain nearly choked on his breathing fluid. These humans talked about no survivors and maximum elimination, as calmly as discussing lunch plans. By midday, the investigation team had witnessed dozens of humans conducting what appeared to be coordinated extermination activities. Men, women, and children all participated with disturbing enthusiasm. I have recorded 17 separate killing events, Pixel reported. The efficiency is terrifying. They cover vast areas in minimal time. The psychological profiles are deeply disturbing, Dr. Veltar added. They show no guilt, no hesitation, no recognition that they are committing murder. They act as if mass killing is completely normal behavior. Late in the afternoon, the team observed something that shocked them even more. A group of human children ranging from ages 5 to 12 were conducting their own elimination campaign, without adult supervision. Little Sarah Mitchell, only 7 years old, led a group of friends through a field section. Each child carried age-appropriate killing equipment. They worked together like a trained military unit. "Check behind those big leaves," Sarah instructed her friends. "Remember what Mrs. Johnson taught us in school? Look for the egg clusters. If we eliminate those, we stop the whole next generation." The other children nodded seriously and went to work. 9-year-old Michael found something and called out excitedly, "Found a big nest. Should I use the spray or the powder?" "Use both," Sarah replied without hesitation. "We want total elimination." The alien investigators watched in complete horror as human children methodically destroyed what appeared to be breeding areas. The kids worked with scientific precision, using different chemicals for different targets, checking and double-checking to ensure nothing survived. "They are training child soldiers for genocide," Zixera whispered in disbelief. "How can any species be so evil?" As evening approached, the human families gathered to compare results. They shared techniques, celebrated successful kills, and planned the next day's eradication activities. "Tomorrow we tackle the South Field," Thomas Bennett announced to his neighbors. "I heard there is a major infestation there. We might need the heavy equipment." "Count us in," replied Robert. "David needs practice with the industrial-grade elimination systems." The human families laughed and chatted as if they had spent the day playing games instead of committing mass murder. Children ran around showing off their kill counts, while parents praised their efficiency. "This is worse than our worst fears," Commander Zixera told her team as they prepared their report. "These humans do not just commit genocide, they have turned it into a social activity. Their entire culture celebrates extinction." The investigation team returned to their ship that night with recordings that would shake the galaxy. They had documented a species that treated mass killing as casually as other civilizations treated gardening. None of them realized how accurate that comparison really was. After 5 days of horrifying observations, Commander Zixera decided the investigation team needed direct answers. The evidence they had gathered showed systematic killing on a scale that defied belief, but something felt wrong. The humans seemed too normal, too peaceful for genocidal maniacs. "We confront them today," she announced to her team. "I want to look into their eyes when they explain their crimes." The team chose Thomas Bennett as their target. The human farmer had shown particular efficiency in his elimination campaigns, and his children seemed especially well-trained in killing techniques. If anyone could explain humanity's casual approach to genocide, it would be him. That morning, Thomas walked into his crop field carrying his usual spraying equipment. He hummed quietly to himself, checking plants for signs of damage. The alien investigators watched from hiding as he worked with disturbing calm. Commander Zixera made her decision. She deactivated her camouflage system and stepped into the open field, her insect-like form clearly visible in the morning sunlight. Thomas nearly dropped his spray bottle when the 7-foot-tall alien suddenly appeared 20 feet away. His eyes went wide with shock, but after a moment of surprise, he smiled and raised his hand in greeting. "Well, hello there," Thomas said calmly. "You must be from the Galactic Council. I heard some of your people might visit our colony. Welcome to New Yorkshire." Zixera's compound eyes studied the human's reaction. No fear, no guilt, no recognition of wrongdoing. Either humans were incredible actors or something else was happening here. "Thomas Bennett of Earth," she began formally, "you stand accused of systematic genocide. We have observed your elimination campaigns. We have recorded your family's participation in mass killing. Explain yourself." Thomas blinked several times, his face showing genuine confusion. "I'm sorry, what? Genocide? I think there's been some kind of mistake." Captain Morgul emerged from behind a crop row, his water tank making mechanical sounds as it moved. "No mistake, human. We have documented your pest control operations. You casually discuss exterminating entire species." "Yes," Thomas nodded slowly, "we do pest control. It's basic farming. You have to protect your crops from insects and diseases, or you lose your food supply." Lieutenant Pixel stepped forward, his crystalline body refracting the sunlight. "You speak of destroying entire populations with no emotion. Your children celebrate killing. Your society treats mass extinction as entertainment. Thomas stared at the three aliens surrounding him. A look of understanding began to cross his face, followed quickly by what appeared to be barely contained laughter. Wait a minute, he said carefully. When you say genocide and mass extinction, what exactly do you think we're killing? Sentient beings, Zixera replied firmly. Your reports document the systematic elimination of hundreds of species. Your weapons are designed for maximum killing efficiency. Thomas was quiet for a long moment. Then he started laughing, not the evil laughter they expected from a mass murderer, but the genuine amusement of someone who had just understood a ridiculous misunderstanding. Oh no, he chuckled, shaking his head. Oh, this is bad. You think we're committing genocide against sentient aliens? Your own records confirm systematic extermination, Captain Morgul insisted, his voice bubbling with anger. Do not mock us with denials. I'm not mocking you, Thomas said, his laughter fading as he realized how serious the aliens were. But there's been a huge misunderstanding. We're not killing sentient beings. We're killing bugs, insects, plant diseases, agricultural pests. The three investigators exchanged glances. Dr. Veltar emerged from her hiding spot, her breathing apparatus making soft wheezing sounds. You classify other life forms as pests? She asked. You justify murder by claiming your victims are inferior? No, not inferior, Thomas explained patiently. Non-sentient. They don't think or feel like we do. They're just biological organisms that eat our crops. If we don't control them, they destroy our food supply and people starve. He knelt down and pointed to a small green insect crawling on one of his plants. See this? It's an aphid. These little bugs can destroy an entire field of crops in weeks. They reproduce incredibly fast and have no natural predators on our colony worlds. The aliens looked at the tiny creature. To them, it was just another life form sharing the planet. This aphid is not sentient, Thomas continued. It cannot think, plan, or feel pain the way you and I do. It exists only to eat and reproduce. If I let these multiply, they will consume every edible plant on this world. Lieutenant Pixel processed this information quickly. But your elimination methods affect multiple species simultaneously. Your chemicals kill many different organisms. Yes, Thomas agreed. Because many different non-sentient organisms threaten our crops. We have flying insects, crawling insects, plant diseases, and invasive weeds. Our pest control targets all threats to food production. Dr. Veltar stepped closer, studying the human's facial expressions and body language. You show no remorse for driving species to extinction. Thomas considered this carefully. Should I feel guilty about eliminating organisms that would cause mass starvation? These aren't people, they're biological threats to survival. Every species protects itself from hostile organisms. No, Commander Zixera said firmly. Every species does not casually discuss exterminating other life forms. Most civilized beings find ways to coexist. Coexist with creatures that would destroy your food supply? Thomas asked, genuinely puzzled. How do you feed your populations if you cannot protect your crops? The question hung in the air. The alien investigators realized they had never faced this problem. Their homeworlds had stable ecosystems where different species naturally balanced each other. The concept of actively managing hostile organisms was completely foreign to them. Your species views this as normal behavior? Captain Morgul asked. Absolutely, Thomas replied. Pest control is basic agriculture. Every farming society throughout human history has had to protect their crops from destructive organisms. It's how we survive. The aliens stood in stunned silence, beginning to grasp the enormous misunderstanding that had brought them here. The emergency council session began within hours of receiving the investigation team's shocking report. Representatives from 47 species filled the Great Crystal Dome, their voices creating a chaos of confused discussions. What they had learned about humans challenged everything they thought they knew about civilized behavior. Council leader Vashti called for order, her 8 tentacles weaving complex patterns of distress. Commander Zixera, please present your findings to the full assembly. The insect-like investigator stepped forward, her compound eyes reflecting the chamber's lights. Honored council members, we have discovered something that shakes the foundation of our understanding. Humans do not commit genocide against sentient beings. They eliminate non-sentient organisms that threaten their food supply. A wave of confused murmurs swept through the chamber. Ambassador Kreldas from the Vrelian world raised one of his 4 arms. But the systematic extermination, the casual attitude toward extinction, surely this indicates dangerous behavior? That is exactly the problem, Captain Morgul replied, his voice bubbling through his water tank speaker system. They treat the elimination of entire species as normal daily activity. They show no hesitation about driving organisms to complete extinction. Dr. Veltar activated her holographic display, showing recordings of human families working in their fields. Watch how they involve their children in these activities. Young humans learn to eliminate life forms as naturally as they learn to walk. The assembly watched in uncomfortable silence as human children methodically destroyed insect colonies and applied chemical treatments to crops. The casual efficiency disturbed many representatives. They have created an entire industrial complex dedicated to more effective killing, Lieutenant Pixel added, displaying images of human pest control factories. They research new methods of extinction. They compete to achieve higher elimination rates. The peaceful union representative began singing their morning song. Even non-sentient life deserves consideration. The taking of any life should bring sorrow, not celebration. But Admiral Thane of the military coalition leaned forward with growing interest. You said they reshape entire ecosystems? Successfully? Their agricultural output exceeds anything we have seen, Commander Zixera admitted reluctantly. They transform hostile environments into food-producing worlds within decades. But the cost in eliminated species is enormous. The Crystal Collective dimmed their natural light in contemplation. They actively manage their environment rather than adapting to it. This is unprecedented among civilized species. Dr. Harrison, the human diplomatic attaché, had been sitting quietly in the observer section. Now she stood and requested permission to address the council. The chamber fell silent as Vashti granted her request. Honored representatives, Dr. Harrison began, I believe you are struggling to understand human environmental philosophy because your species evolved under very different conditions. She activated her own holographic display, showing Earth's violent geological history. Our homeworld taught us that survival requires active intervention in natural processes. We learn to manage our environment or face extinction. Images of Earth's ice ages, volcanic eruptions and mass extinctions filled the chamber. Many council members had never seen such environmental chaos. Your worlds provided stable ecosystems, Dr. Harrison continued. Your species learned to find their place within existing natural balance. Humans learned to create balance where none existed. The aquatic dominion representative made clicking sounds of distress. But the casual attitude toward eliminating other life forms, how can any civilization develop such disregard for existence? Because on our world, failure to control hostile organisms meant death, Dr. Harrison explained. Every human child learns about crop failures that caused famines killing millions. We cannot afford the luxury of coexisting with organisms that destroy our food supply. She showed images of historical human famines, populations devastated by crop diseases and insect swarms. The alien representatives watched with growing understanding and horror. Ambassador Thexlar from the Herbivore Alliance spoke up nervously. If humans so casually eliminate threats to their interests, what prevents them from targeting sentient species they consider problematic? The question sent a chill through the chamber. Every representative imagined their own species being classified as a pest by human standards. The difference, Dr. Harrison said firmly, is that we distinguish between sentient and non-sentient life. We would never harm a thinking being. But organisms that exist only to consume our crops, yes, we eliminate them without hesitation. Dr. Veltar studied the human carefully. Your species feels no emotional connection to non-sentient life forms? We feel connection to our ecosystems as wholes, Dr. Harrison replied. Sometimes protecting the greater system requires controlling individual species. We are gardeners of our environment, not just residents in it. The concept was alien to most council members. Their species had evolved to fit into existing natural systems, not to actively reshape them. Admiral Thane stood up, his red skin flushing with excitement. Show them the restoration projects. Show them what human pest control has actually accomplished. Dr. Harrison's display shifted to show before and after images of various worlds. Barren planets transformed into green paradises. Dead ecosystems brought back to life through careful management. On world after world, human agricultural techniques have created thriving environments that support both their civilization and increased biodiversity, she explained. Sometimes we must eliminate invasive species to save dozens of native ones. The chamber buzzed with discussion as representatives struggled to process this information. The concept challenged their most basic assumptions about the relationship between civilization and nature. Commander Zixera spoke into the growing noise. The efficiency remains disturbing. No other species approaches ecosystem management with such systematic precision. Because no other species evolved on a world that demanded such precision for survival, Dr. Harrison replied. We learned to be thorough because anything less meant starvation. Council leader Vashti's tentacles moved in complex thinking patterns. This raises fundamental questions about the nature of civilized behavior. Is active ecosystem management ethical? Should species have the right to reshape their environments so dramatically? The debate that followed would continue for months, dividing the council between those who saw humans as dangerous and those who recognized the effectiveness of their methods. The final council session had lasted for 6 hours, with heated debates echoing through the crystal dome. Species after species had voiced their concerns, their fears, and their growing curiosity about human methods. Now, as the evening light filtered through the chamber's transparent walls, Dr. Harrison prepared to make humanity's final case. Council leader Vashti's tentacles moved in calming patterns as she addressed the assembly. Dr. Harrison, you have heard our concerns. Many council members remain troubled by humanity's approach to ecosystem management. Please help us understand why your species views such systematic elimination as acceptable. Dr. Harrison stood at the central podium, looking around at the diverse gathering of alien life forms. Some floated in water tanks, others perched on crystal formations, and many simply stood or sat in ways that seemed impossible to human physics. Each represented thousands of years of evolution on stable, peaceful worlds. Honored council members, she began, imagine if your homeworld suddenly became hostile. Imagine if the organisms you coexisted with for millions of years turned deadly to your food supply. What would you do? She activated her holographic display, showing Earth's ancient history. This was humanity's reality. Our planet experienced 5 major mass extinctions before we even evolved. Climate changed constantly. Species appeared and vanished regularly. Nothing remained stable. Images of ice ages, volcanic eruptions and ecological collapses filled the chamber. Many representatives had never seen such environmental chaos. We learned that survival meant adaptation, not just biological adaptation, but active management of our environment, Dr. Harrison continued. When crop diseases appeared, we developed resistant varieties. When insects threatened our food supply, we found ways to control them. When ecosystems became unbalanced, we restored the balance. Ambassador Kreldas raised one of his 4 arms. But surely such drastic intervention carries risks? What if your methods harm beneficial species? That is exactly why we developed scientific approaches to pest management, Dr. Harrison replied. We study each situation carefully. We identify specific threats and develop targeted responses. We monitor results and adjust our methods. She showed detailed studies of human agricultural worlds, complex analyses of soil health, biodiversity indices, and ecosystem stability measurements. The data revealed something surprising. Human-managed worlds often supported more diverse life than they had originally. Look at New Yorkshire, where your investigators observed our pest control, she said. Before human settlement, the planet had 43 native species. After 20 years of human agriculture, it now supports over 200 species, including all 43 original ones. Lieutenant Pixel processed the data quickly. How is this possible if you eliminate so many organisms? We eliminate invasive species that threaten the ecosystem balance, Dr. Harrison explained. The pests we control are not native to these worlds. They are organisms that arrived accidentally and began destroying the local environment. The display showed detailed examples. Insects that had arrived in cargo ships and multiplied out of control. Plant diseases that spread from world to world, killing native vegetation. Parasites that attacked both crops and wild animals. Every species we eliminate through our pest control is an ecological threat, she continued. We are not destroying stable ecosystems, we are protecting them from destruction. Dr. Veltar studied the psychological profiles she had compiled. Your casual attitude toward elimination still concerns many of us. You show no emotional distress when discussing extinction. Dr. Harrison nodded thoughtfully. Would you feel emotional distress about removing a virus that caused disease in your children? That is how humans view agricultural pests, as disease organisms that threaten our survival and the health of our ecosystems. Captain Morgul bubbled quietly for a moment before speaking. But your children participate in these activities. You teach them to eliminate life forms without hesitation. We teach them to protect their world, Dr. Harrison replied. Human children learn to identify threats to their food supply, their environment, and their community. This knowledge keeps them alive. She showed images of human children learning about ecosystem balance, not just how to eliminate pests, but how to recognize healthy soil, how to support beneficial insects, and how to maintain biodiversity. Young Thomas Bennett, whom your investigators observed, can identify over 50 species of beneficial insects that help his family's crops grow, she explained. He knows which organisms to protect and which ones threaten the ecosystem. This is not mindless killing, it is educated stewardship. The chamber fell quiet as representatives considered this information. Admiral Thane finally stood up, his expression thoughtful. Dr. Harrison, your species has achieved something remarkable. You have learned to actively improve the environments you inhabit. Most species simply adapt to existing conditions, but humans create better conditions. That is correct, she agreed. We are gardeners on a planetary scale. Sometimes gardening requires removing harmful plants to help beneficial ones grow. Council leader Vashti's tentacles moved in decision patterns. The terminology remains problematic for many species. Your casual discussion of pest control and elimination sounds frightening to beings who view all life as sacred. Dr. Harrison smiled. We understand this concern. Perhaps we can use different language when communicating with the galactic community. Instead of pest control, we could say ecosystem optimization. Instead of elimination, we could say selective species management. The suggestion brought visible relief to many representatives. The same activities sounded much less threatening when described with diplomatic language. We propose a joint research program, Dr. Harrison announced. Human agricultural experts working with council scientists to develop ecosystem management techniques suitable for different worlds and species. We can share our knowledge while learning from your approaches to environmental harmony. Commander Zixera clicked her mandibles in consideration. Your methods could help species facing ecological challenges on their homeworlds? Absolutely. Climate change, invasive species, ecosystem collapse. These problems affect many worlds. Human techniques, adapted for different species and environments, could provide solutions. The final vote was unanimous. The Council approved the establishment of the Interspecies Agricultural Research Institute, with Earth as its headquarters. Humanity's pest control would become the foundation for galactic ecosystem management. What began as an investigation into genocide had become humanity's greatest contribution to galactic civilization. The species that casually discussed elimination had taught the galaxy that sometimes, to preserve life, you must carefully manage death.